We watched ECW, everybody.
Yes.
Darren Young was not on it.
No.
The show was from 1997.
Google Darren Young real quick.
You want me to look at him?
Yeah.
All right, hang on. What the fuck is my mouse thing? There it is. Okay. Darren
Great radio.
Young. It's your idea. Darren Young, wrestler, Wikipedia. Why not?
Come on.
There's a picture here from FCW. He's got like an afro. He'd have to cut the hair.
Everybody, Vince's idea for Demolition 2010 is Skip Sheffield and Darren Young. I'm going to look back on this in 6 months, and you're going to deny this vociferously that you even made the suggestion.
I probably will.
Yes. All right, go on.
All right. ECW did not have Darren Young. The show was in 1997. It was shortly after their first pay-per-view, Barely Legal. It opened with a Rick Rude promo. Kind of a strange promo. He made a lot of Wizard of Oz references about how, well, I don't remember them. He mentioned the Yellow Brick Road. I didn't write them down.
Clicking your heels together?
That sort of thing, yes. But it was all about how the triple threat had fallen apart around Shane Douglas. He had lost everything. And he said Shane Douglas was a boil and he was going to lance it. So
he looked jacked. He was on the comeback trail and then shortly thereafter passed away.
Yes. I shouldn't laugh at that. He showed...
no, you shouldn't, Vince.
They showed the clip from Barely Legal of Brian Lee coming out in a Rick Rude's robe and a mask and then unmasking, and that was how he left the triple threat. And as Joey Styles was describing all this, the song they played in the background, I don't know, this sounded like something a Heart cover band would have...
I was going to say a Rush ripoff.
Sure. This is a mid-'80s power ballad here in the background of this 1997 ECW show.
Go back even further. The ECW theme, don't they own that?
Yes.
They edited out the great ECW theme and put in... I don't know what.
They put in a song.
It was music straight out of the early 90s, although ECW was the mid-90s, so they only missed it by a few years. But still, this was outrageously bad.
They do seem to own the ECW theme. And I remember that show being on Barely Legal, or that song being on Barely Legal, so it was certainly around at the time of this show. We had a Shane Douglas promo. He basically held up Francine and the title and his biceps as things Rick Rude used to have, but he was no longer man enough to have.
She was skeletal.
I only say is that we were watching this with non-wrestling fans, and one of them asked, "Why is she there?" And I said, "To look cute." And they did not understand this. So,
speaking of big, Douglas was bloated, bursting at the seams.
There was a lot of drug use in ECW of all sorts. So he said Rude was a shell of himself and said his body had failed, and so he was using money to get what he wanted. They aired clips throughout the show of great moments of Terry Funk's career. First one was perhaps the weirdest tag match of all time. Terry Funk and Arn Anderson versus Bobby Eaton and Sabu.
I have no idea where this took place. It was not ECW.
Are you sure?
I'm almost positive. If anybody knows where this fucking match took place at, please email me.
Watching Sabu and Arn Anderson trade punches was something... It was like... It would be like if an alien appeared before you, a spaceship landed, you just couldn't process it. It was weird. I'd
have an easier time processing a spaceship landing in front of me than this match, to be honest with you.
So we were told that Terry had won the world title at at Barely Legal. He was back at the Double Cross Ranch healing. He had a Raven promo. He was on a bench in a locker room or something.
The Road owned this man.
In 1997, he was not a bad-looking guy. In 2010, he's a zombie.
He looked like the current Raven's great-grandson.
Yes. So he said that he had lost everything. They had taken everything from him. They had taken his belt. They had taken his flock, or nest, or whatever they called it. He said all he could do now was take out Tommy Dreamer and Terry Funk, and then he turned to Stevie Richards. He said he was proud of Stevie and what Stevie had turned into, what he had accomplished, and said their final mission was to burn this place to the ground.
Stevie Richards, everybody.
Yes.
1997.
Right.
Actually, the Stevie did a promo next. He looks remarkably the same.
Yes, he's all things considered, he's doing fine.
There are several guys on the show that the Road is not owned. Joey Styles, Stevie Richards. I'm trying to think who else. Oh, Rob Van Dam looks almost exactly the same. So it's doing all right for those guys.
So Stevie said that Raven may have forgiven him, but he would never forgive Raven. So that every victory he scored was a victory against the girls who made fun of him and the jocks who beat him up in high school, and it was also a victory against Raven, who always made him feel bad and thought he would never amount to anything. So throughout the show, teased footage of Chris Candido and a person from his personal life. And Joey was constantly asking if they had clearance from their attorneys, and then they said no. So instead, they went to the FBI of Little Guido and Tracy Smothers versus Chris Chetti and Spike Dudley.
Actually, first they had a full-blooded Italians segment, and Tracy Smothers was out there. He looked to be about 400 pounds. And during this segment, J.T. Smith hit the ring, and the people went nuts like Steve Austin had hit a stunner on Vince McMahon at WrestleMania. People are always like, they note that ECW went out of business. Paul Heyman must not have known what he was doing. Yes, he was not a banker. He was not a great businessman. But my fucking God, did that guy know how to create stars. You know why there's an ECW reunion in 2010? Because of how great Paul Heyman was at his job.
Yes.
That's literally the only reason. These people were going nuts for J.T. Smith. What the fuck ever happened to that guy?
I don't know.
I don't have any idea. I had to look up where Chris Chetti went.
Yes.
Because we saw Spike and Chris Chetti against Tracy Smothers and Little Guido. They were talking about what a great mat wrestler Chris Chetti was. They said he was a standout high school wrestler. That means a lot less in 2010, everyone, with these great college wrestlers going into MMA. Keep an eye on this rookie, Styles said. He's going places. Yes, he went into retirement in 2005. That's what happened to Chris Chetti, everybody. Now, J.T. Smith, I'm going to actually look this up. J.T. Smith. Here we go. Wiki, of course. Debuted in 1990. It's astounding. All right. Maryland Championship Wrestling. Full-blooded Italians. Post-ECW. Smith appeared at both of the ECW reunion shows in June 2005. Hardcore Homecoming, he appeared. That's all they mention. They mention
he appeared.
There's his stuff in ECW, and then there's the reunion shows, and that's it. So presumably he retired shortly after ECW ended. People went nuts for this dude. Anyway, so then we had the tag match, which what was it?
Sucked.
Are you kidding me? Spike and Chris Chetti against Tracy Smothers and Little Guido. This match did not suck because it involved Tracy Smothers and Tommy Rich.
Okay, fair.
These men...
They were great.
Chris Chetti, listen, God bless the guy. I'm sure he's a great guy. He was not really very good. This was a rookie year, they said.
He was actually horrible.
Here's a stat. He was trained in part by Mikey Whipwreck in 1996. Not the Mikey Whipwreck of 2010. The Mikey Whipwreck of 2006, the one who has come on, or 1996, who has come on our show and admitted that in 1996 he was, and I quote, the shits.
Yes.
He trained Tracy Smothers.
No.
Or no, I'm sorry.
No,
Chris
he
Chetti.
didn't.
He trained Chris Chetti.
Do you want to start this whole segment over again?
I may as well. Anyway, Spike looked all right. Not really all that good. No one looked good next to Tracy Smothers.
That was actually the problem. He was so professional that
he was a god in this match.
It was abundantly obvious how horrible everyone else was.
So he was awesome.
Yes.
And Tommy Rich at ringside, also 400 pounds, was awesome. There was just the little things he did. There was a moment where I think it was Chris Chetti had a pin. The referee dropped down to count, and Tommy Rich grabbed the ref leg and yanked him to break up the pin. And the referee turns around and looks at Tommy Rich. Tommy Rich looks at him, and then Tommy Rich turns around and he points to the crowd. I don't know if he was saying that guy in row 9, seat 14 was the one who actually grabbed your foot. I don't know if he was trying to say, hey, some guy there threw a bottle. I needed to alert you. I don't know what he was saying, but I laughed so hard at his attempt to explain why he had done what he had done. His alibi. He was creating an alibi, which was completely full of shit, but he did not care. This was fabulous. So ended up with a bunch of stuff happening.
Chris Chetti made
hijinks occurred.
There were hijinks at the end. Chris Chetti got the hot tag and made the worst comeback of the 1990s.
It was horrible.
I attribute ECW's death to this comeback.
Years of indies, I have not seen a comeback this bad.
Yeah, everyone until they makes a better comeback than Chris Chetti did here.
If I would have been at Buddy's school and a man would have made a comeback like this, Buddy would have stopped the match. The browbeating that would have ensued, and the man may never have come back.
Yeah.
Listen, everybody. This is not rocket science. When you make a comeback in a tag match, you stand in the middle of the ring and everyone runs at you and falls down. Okay? Day one wrestling school tag match. This guy, he hit the ring, he clotheslined someone, he ran to the other side of the ring and hit someone, then he ran to the other side of the ring, tripping over someone in the process. It was a disaster.
My favorite was when he threw a clothesline, but halfway through the clothesline, he realized his target has back turned, and so he sort of pulled up and hit not quite as hard. And in the other highlight, he hit a body slam and went up top for a somersault leg drop, only as soon as he slammed this guy, it was immediately clear he had placed him miles and miles and miles outside of his leaping range. And he got up top, and he looked way yonder in the distance through the clouds at Tracy Smothers, and he came off the top rope, and he did a somersault and landed on his ass, stretching his feet out as far as they would go, and they caught him sort of in the shoulder, I guess.
This was terrible.
This was bad. So then there were hijinks at the end.
He pinned Guido.
Chris Chetty ended up pinning Guido, and as you noted about the JT Smith celebration, the fans were inappropriately excited about this victory. I was actually ashamed of these fans.
And then Smothers and Rich got in the ring. Tracy Smothers looked at the referee. He pointed his ass at the ref, and he yanked on his trunks, as if to say, he had the tights!
Yes.
I want a match with Tracy Smothers so bad, I can't even tell you. I must have this match before I die.
Well, good luck with that.
We had another Funk highlight. This was
awesome.
Comically hilarious. We had Cactus Jack and Sandman brawling at ringside, and then Jack put him in a box. That's exactly what Joey Styles said. He put him in a box!
He put him in the box. Best line in wrestling history.
So he puts him in a box, and there's a black sheet there, and
He pulls him out of the box, but now he's covered in the sheet.
Yeah, so and then it turns out Funk is underneath.
Yes, he hits him a few times, and he grabs a stick, and he goes to swing it, and Sandman pulls off the sheet, and it's Terry Funk under there. Mm-hmm. And the place just went out of their minds insane. It fooled everyone in a good way. It didn't make much sense in the fact that Terry Funk was willing to let Mick punch him several times to surprise him, but whatever. He was also willing to let Mick hit him with a stick a few times. So,
I was not the biggest ECW fan. I thought some of this stuff was overbooked, overcomplicated. But when you're in charge of a wrestling company, you need to know your audience and book for your audience. And that's what ECW was. Their audience got what they wanted every single time out. Even if they didn't want it, they got what they wanted. The show was amazing. The crowd reactions for some of this stuff just blows my mind. So then we had the footage. It was Candido and Tammy freaking out backstage. Mostly Candido, his arm was in a cast. RVD walked in, and as he was passing by, he grabbed Tammy's ass. So Candido jumped him. They had a brawl. And this was during a very strange period where Tammy was working for WWE as Sunny, WWF at the time. Yet she was also doing appearances for ECW. So this was just bewildering. So then we had clips of Sabu and RVD beating the crap out of Candido, with Bill Alfonso wildly blowing his fucking whistle. And who should show up to make the save but Taz.
In his beach gear.
He was wearing, not even beach gear, he was wearing a blue shirt tucked into a pair of plaid golfing shorts.
Blue and white plaid shorts.
Now you know why Bubba Ray Dudley wears such stupid outfits all the time. It's a throwback to this ECW stuff. He looked like a complete dunderhead, and he ran wild, he gave everybody a bunch of suplexes, and then he said a bunch of stuff that got bleeped.
Correct. It was a feud of a bunch of evil guys who hate each other, and then Taz came out and was most evil of all, but they liked him. And I was a little surprised they didn't edit his music out, because I believe it was Kiss, but I guess they figured it was background noise. So then I
love the golf shorts. Was this a regular thing, regular ECW viewers? Can you please email me and tell me if Taz regularly showed up with his shirt tucked into golf shorts?
So Taz returned to the back, accompanied by the least intimidating bodyguards of all time.
That's right. He's flanked by these two guys.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, you two are going to protect Taz. Seriously.
Yeah.
I know that I've often said, 2-on-1, doesn't matter how tough you are, you're in trouble. No, Taz would have killed these two motherfuckers.
Yes.
And they were accompanying him to the back to make sure nobody tried anything with Taz.
Right. So the cameraman, after that, ran down to the ring to see Chris Candido, who had just gotten his ass kicked by 3 men, and then saved, and then given a Northern Lights suplex with his arm in a cast, and he's laying on the mat and moaning, and Joey Styles in commentary says, poor Candido, he's not having a good night at all.
No.
Indeed. So then we cut to modern day Styles in 2010 in the WWE studios. He had to explain the booking.
Well, it's, you're looking back at a self-contained show. Come on.
Yeah. So he explained that they had wanted Taz to be booed, so they put him with Bill Alfonso, the most hated man in the company, and the fans still cheered him, so they figured they may as well have him be cheered, so they had Fonzie turn on him, and then they just had him be a complete antisocial asshole, turn on it, talk bad about everyone, including the fans, and that made the fans love him more.
Balls Mahoney and corporal punishment. This was not as bad as I was expecting.
No?
Balls gave him 2 chair shots with a chair. They were no good.
I've seen many worse.
I've seen significantly worse.
I was actually terrified. First of all, they announced this match, and Styles was talking about how Balls swung a chair harder than anyone. I actually started to get a little queasy. And then Corporal Robinson, who was no good, he fucked up a spot, and Balls looked at him pissed and grabbed a chair, and I said a prayer, honestly. and thankfully, he hit him hard-ish. He hit him hard, but he did not kill him.
Balls Mahoney was actually a solid wrestler when he wasn't swinging a chair.
Yeah,
he was he may have been, aside from Tracy Smothers, he may have been the best worker on this show.
Oh, on this show, God, yes.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so it was largely a squash. The other highlight, but Punishment's gimmick was I did like, he took 2 chair shots, and then right after taking them, he immediately switched a whip into a guardrail for the heat.
Yeah.
So they didn't always know what they were doing.
That's a fine way to get the heat. This was a very basic match.
It's not. It's more that after he took 2 chair shots, they didn't tease a chair shot and then get the heat. It's that he took 2 chair shots and responded by getting the heat. So anywho, his gimmick was that on all of his moves, he would hit a move and then fall down. He went up top and got crotched on the top ropes, and as we say, usually when we do that, you want to land like you're riding a bicycle seat. He landed on this, I think, scrotum first. He's leaning forward, just all kinds of bad times, and Balls mercifully finally pinned him with a top rope elbow. We had a Terry Funk highlight in which he called Cactus Jack a bunch of names, and then Cactus Jack came out and brawled with Tommy Dreamer.
Mm-hmm. Strange tribute.
It was a cool brawl. All right. They re-aired the entire Candido RVD thing again, including Styles saying off camera, "I'm glad your dad is a lawyer," and I didn't catch what he said, but the voice that replied was definitely Paul Heyman. That made me laugh. We had a Bill Alfonso promo. He basically said Taz was a pussy and a sissy, and Sabu was tough, and he would wrestle with all the scars and stuff, and RVD cut him off, showed clips of himself in action, said he was available to work Monday nights. He said, almost in this exact words, he did not want to end up like Sabu, and Sabu got pissed, and RVD told him to calm down, and then the show ended. That was it.
Guess the idea was that RVD saying he wanted to go to Raw made fans really pissed off at him, and that made him a heel. It was kind of the way they explained it.
They did have modern day Styles explain that too, which I actually remember that gimmick. But I did think it was sort of funny. They didn't point out that he could have gone to Raw or Nitro. But I guess maybe they just didn't want to confuse modern day fans who wouldn't remember that anyway. It was a decade ago.
Play a song, then we'll do some shout outs.